This is Partners in Crime with Adam Croft and...
Not the other one. Hello, welcome to episode 149 of Partners in Crime with me, and not the other one. We've got Adrian in today, Mr. Adrian Hobart. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, great to be back. It's been a long time.
Yeah, it has been. It's been good to have you back. I must admit, we've been, every time Bob's been filming or busy, we've used that, or I've used that, as an excuse to not do an episode. But when he got in touch and said, actually, he's got 3 big jobs on and he's going to be filming for most of September, I thought, no, can't get away with a month off. So,
no, that's true. And I don't know quite what he's filming at the moment, but I mean, the really exciting one, the headline one for me, is his 6 weeks at Windsor, appearing with Sir Ian McKellen.
Yeah, I know, I know.
Yeah. I mean, it's great to see youth getting a chance, isn't it, in that cast with Martin Shaw, Jenny Seagrove,
I thought you were
Francesca
saying Bob being
Annis.
a youth compared to Ian McKellen.
Well, he's a whippersnapper, it's brilliant. I mean, McKellen's with that same company currently doing Hamlet at the age of 82. So, it's wonderful.
Extraordinary, and I think that's the thing with actors, isn't it? They can carry on because somebody always needs to play the old man, and at least this time it's not Bob.
Yeah.
I'm noticing on the video, and anybody who's a patron who's also watching Partners in Crime rather than just listening, that you're sitting in a very swanky studio there, Adrian. It looks like I presume you just popped down to the BBC, have you, to record this?
Well, you might think that. I mean, I've tried to recreate the vibe of the BBC without the backstabbing. This is my new audio home, the Hobart Audio Studio, and it's been months in gestation and planning and dreaming. Really, this is what I've always wanted. I've narrated books for you and for other people, and that's been within sort of the confines of. Latterly it's been a plastic structure with some curtains because Uncle Bob has got the sort of more formal version of that somewhere secreted in one of his many houses. But this is purpose built. It's cost a fair old bob or two. Company called Cube over in Ripon came in to install it last week, and it's so well constructed. I mean, I've had to sort of fiddle around a little bit to get the reflections down, so hence all the tiling you can see around you. It was a little boxy when I first moved in, but yeah, I mean, this is so that the kids can get on the Xbox and even fight. The cat can meow as much as she likes. I can't hear it, so it's wonderful.
Well, I saw a photo of it from the outside that you put on Facebook the other day, and it seems to be just essentially in the corner of the living room, which is amazing that you can sit there in a studio. And it's that well soundproof that people can be watching TV 10 feet away.
That's exactly it. Yeah, no, it is. It's in the corner of the studio of the living room, and they built a fan into it so it doesn't get too hot. It's just completely silent, which is amazing. It's just brilliant. I mean, I'm still working out a few things and putting in screens and all sorts of things just to make it more comfortable, because when I'm narrating I could be in here for 3-4 hours a day just doing the performance, and what you don't want to be doing is be twisted round and looking at a screen 45 degrees away, and then you get a bad neck and you get tightness in the shoulders and all that sort of thing. You've got to be as relaxed as possible. So it's great, and it's big enough for Rebecca and I when we're doing our podcast, the Hobcast. We can sit in here very comfortably and bump into each other.
Well, yeah, I'm insanely jealous, but also I'm well aware that I wouldn't have anywhere to put that, because I think your studio in the corner of your living room is about the size of my living room. So
it's pretty big. Yeah, it's about 2 meters square. Yeah,
my word. And it looks like it just takes up a small corner from the photos. So there we are. Right, we'll crack on. I'll stop admiring your studio setup, because I'm pretty sure nobody else listening is interested in the slightest. But Adrian is going to be with us probably through most of September, I think, if that's all right with you. I'll just drop that one on you now.
Thank you.
So, how have you been? Have you been busy reading and writing crime? I know you've been busy publishing lots.
Yeah, I think that's principally been reading, actually, out of the 3 things. I mean, the writing is still a dabble here and there, getting the right mood. At some point, I'd like to get the emphasis back to writing. But I think the combination of narrating Hobart projects and bringing them to print. I'm doing a lot of proofreading. We've got umpteen titles coming out this autumn, and they all require either Rebecca or I to go through them, painstakingly. We get professional editors to do a lot of it, but even then, we have to put that extra level of care and attention into it. So that's been our principal focus, and we've just opened submissions for September only. We've been shut for about 9 months now, and we've just been swamped in 2 days. So.
I bet.
Yeah.
Are they looking good?
So far, yeah. I mean, I've got to be realistic about it. We already have 17 authors, so which has grown exponentially since I first, started appearing on the podcast. In fact, we had none. I think Robert was our first, he was. But we realistically, with just the two of us working on the job day to day with sort of freelance help, we can't really take many more than sort of 3, maybe 4 further authors on. So they're going to have to be right up there to get past the threshold, I'm afraid.
So we've got some damn good crime fiction coming in soon. That's the main
absolutely.
takeaway.
Yeah, we've got actually one coming out this week, which is Sue Shepherd's Swindles. She's built her reputation as a kind of rom-com writer, but she's moved into crime, and she's done a great job. So that's out on Tuesday, coming 7th of September.
Very good, very good. Well, it's actually quite a lot coming out today. I was going through my news items that I wanted to cover. First one I spotted, and this is an interesting one. It's been mentioned pretty much everywhere, but I'm reading from a BBC article that's talking about Ian Rankin has finished writing William McIlvanney's novel that he was working on when he died in 2015. His widow, Siobhan, had the script sent to Ian Rankin, the author of the Rebus books, to see if it could be finished, and it has been finished, and it's out today, actually, as we record, on the 2nd of September. It's called The Dark Remains, and yes, there we go, right in front of you.
Yeah, I have a proof copy.
Wow.
Which the man himself gave to me. So
wow. I'm presuming that would be Ian Rankin and not William McIlvanney.
Yeah, I think William was going to struggle.
Yeah.
There we go. Good little.
Oh wow!
See the Ian Rankin signature. That's we picked that up at Harrogate, and that was the first time we sort of broke cover on this project, really. And Rebecca and I managed to sort of speak to him for about 15 minutes about the whole process, and what a challenge it was to go back into the 70s Glasgow. It's not a city he knows that well, actually. Anyway, and then to sort of put himself in the mindset and actually then recreate the voice of William McIlvanney. And I've just started reading it. He's done a really great job.
Yeah.
It's not Rankin. You don't feel it's a Rankin book at all.
Very different styles, aren't they? And it's interesting in this article, he talks about it. He actually met William McIlvanney in the 80s and told him that he was writing what would become the first Rebus novel. And it's good that he got to see that it was what came of it, essentially, and the fact that Ian Rankin probably, I would say, even surpassed many of his achievements. McIlvanney was described as the godfather of Tartan noir. He was born in Kilmarnock and was a teacher before going on to be one of the most celebrated Scottish novelists. It was Doherty, 1975 novel that brought him widespread acclaim. And Ian Rankin has described the process of writing the book as an act of ventriloquism, which
yes,
is it ventriloquism if it's a dead person? Is he not basically holding a séance in his?
Well, yeah, in a way it is. Yeah, it was fascinating to sort of to speak to him about it, because the amount of research he had to do to sort of recreate the era was huge, because this is a prequel. It's not even. This is a prequel to the 3 or 4 crime novels that William McIlvanney did write. And so, he had to go back further. And he only had 50 pages of notes to work from. So, it's been a sort of... It's almost like a CID case in itself, piecing it all together, following the clues. Some of the scenes were fully written. So in those 50 pages of notes, there was a sense of where it was going. But he's basically had to recreate it. But... I think it was interesting, because what we asked him was, okay, so how's this going to impact on your own writing in terms of Rebus? And he snorted slightly and said, "Och man," won't do the full accent, but
was that
I
what
haven't
you were
written any. Yeah. He said, "Look, I'm going to stick with what I do with Rebus because McIlvanney spent a lot of time on his descriptions, and that's something that Rankin prides himself in, actually just getting things across as quickly as possible and keeping it very tight. So he won't be changing his style. But what he did say to us, and this was picked up by the Scotsman a couple of weeks ago, who were listening to our podcast and basically nicked it and ran it as a headline.
An exclusive.
Is that that it's given him the inspiration to perhaps consider writing young Rebus novels, a bit like the way that Endeavour has taken Morse back to the origin story. Because the problem with Rebus, as he said, is he's writing in real time, and the guy's retired now, effectively, and just gets brought in as a consultant for cases, and he's getting older and older. So, he doesn't want to stop writing Rebus. So perhaps if he went back and did, him as a constable or whatever, that might give him new lease of life.
Yeah, he was saying here as well that, well, obviously I've not had the time with him that you have. Very jealous there, but he said he spent months rereading William McIlvanney's novels to try and get his rhythm. I guess it's probably a bit like if you're having to write or learn a different language, you go over there and you submerge yourself in it, you listen to the radio, you pick up the rhythms, you read the newspapers. And he'd been researching what Glasgow was like in 1972, obviously as an Edinburgh boy. And he'd been studying street layouts of the city, reading up on the crime gangs that were operating at the time. I'd imagine it's probably been quite fascinating for him to submerge himself in all of that. And a nice break from the Rebus, I suppose, in terms of the writing style, the research, just getting out the comfort zone for a writer. That can be a big thing.
He said that he's put Rebus aside for quite some time. I mean, he's put a few months into this, and then there's been the stage play of Rebus that's been doing the rounds, and there's talk of that. He's working on a TV project. So he's kind of he's taken a good long holiday, I think, from Rebus. But we're hoping to catch up with him again very shortly, because it's Bloody Scotland, the festival up in Stirling, in a couple of weeks' time, and we're going up for that, and Ian's appearing again. So it'd be nice to know, get his reaction to how people have reacted to him being, the voice of William McIlvanney. But I know in Scottish circles, it's been this is a big deal. Yeah, a really big deal.
Yeah. Well, when you see him, tell him to get on Partners in Crime. He's the one we're missing. He's the one that got away so far. One big name we've not had on.
Well, I'm sure he will. I mean, what I must admit, when we approached him, it was like, are we going to get anywhere with him? But I think the nature of Harrogate is that they're all very relaxed anyway, and they mingle in the bar, all the authors, and you just have to sort of bury the prospect of disappointment by them saying no, because they're really not in a position to say no. And he duly gave us 15 very valuable minutes, and that was great. But I haven't had the courage yet. I mean, Val McDermott was there, but I didn't have the courage to approach her. But she's going to be in Bloody Scotland, and that's my target. Yes.
Oh, no, Val's lovely. Very, very approachable. She's, again, friend of Partners in Crime. There's this thing about festivals, isn't it? And crime writers, I think, in general, that you can... If you didn't know who they were at these things, then you wouldn't know, because everybody talks to everybody. It's all very, very open. There's no hierarchy or anything like that, is there? It's fascinating.
No, I think it's interesting, because I went on Thursday night, which is the night they announced the Theakston's Award, and all the publishers, publicists, and the Lucindas and Tarquins of London were up, and it was definitely demarcated on that evening, because there's a certain level. I mean, some of the agents are a little standoffish as well, but once they melted away from the Friday onwards, and the general public were there en masse, there was no demarcation. But I think initially, there was sort of a force field around the author groups.
The gatekeepers, again, those people.
Yeah, the gatekeepers were in.
The authors don't care. The readers don't care.
No,
it's only those people in the middle. We're not quite sure what they do. But these publishers, Adrian, that's what it is. It's these
they're all in
publishers.
Tuscany right now, so it's not. I mean, if you notice we get the bookseller, and it just sort of dries up during August. It's extraordinary. It's hardly any news at all. So,
Well,
Yeah.
we're still going to try and get a half an hour podcast and 15 or so minutes of Arsenic and Old Lace out of this anyway. So also mentioned in the bookseller, as you were talking about there, that the Scottish actor Brian Cox, the not the space one, has been confirmed as the audiobook reader for The Dark Remains, which is out today. The audiobook is also out today. Available, though, unfortunately, only exclusively through an audiobook platform, which is not Kobo. So
Right. I think we know which one that is, but yes.
Well, there we are. But we are sponsored by Kobo, hence that little comment. It's one of the world's largest ebook and audiobook retailers, and as a listener to Partners in Crime, you can get a massive 90% off of your first ebook purchase from them. Just head to kobo.com and enter the promo code CRIME at the checkout. And if you're an existing customer, there's a link in the show notes you can follow to use the promo code PARTNERS for 40% off of selected ebook purchases forever, which is very nice. Before I go on to more news, Adrian, I mean, we've not planned this in the slightest. I'm not sure if anybody can tell, probably. Did you have anything else you wanted to move on to at your end?
Just since we've last spoken, I suppose that things have shifted in the publishing world with the Crime Writers Association. I'm sure you've mentioned this before, allowing independent authors in, because they used to be, you had to be formally published by a traditional. Well, I suppose we have members we're not a traditional publisher by any means, but you had to have a publisher to be allowed in, and I think it's great they've finally woken up to the fact that probably 60 to 70% now of the UK crime market are independent authors.
Yeah.
Rather than the ones who've got past the gatekeepers. So that's a big step forward, I think. That widens the community enormously. But it just goes to show that I think that things are still slow within the marketplace or within the world of crime writing to recognise the impact of independent authors like yourself. And one thing I would say about Harrogate is the one trick they're missing is having a fringe for indie authors, having a room set aside so that alongside their traditional contemporaries.
Why fringe? Mix it all in. The readers don't care how books have been published.
No.
It makes no difference as long as the quality is there. So, yeah. I was going to say something else on that front. That's completely... about the CWA. That was one of the reasons that I've not been a member, in fact. It's because I can be a member, or could have been a member because I have been traditionally published too. But, from an ethical standpoint, banning other independent authors was not a good thing. And, fair play to them for now opening that up. Good news. And as you say, small steps, but they're all steps in the right direction. I'm not aware of anybody who's banned indie authors, having previously allowed them, or things that have become more closed. Yes, they're opening up very, very slowly, but they are still going in the right direction. So we will get there eventually. Maybe not in my lifetime, but
well, the next challenge is that a dagger goes to somebody from that background.
Yeah,
one of the Dagger Awards, and that's the next step. So we'll hold them to the feet to the fire.
Well, the thing with awards is they've got to change how they do it, rather than the publishers submitting them, or certain different awards and lists where you essentially pay to be on there. That's not going to quite cut it with the indies.
No.
So, I think having a more external process would work there. But we're getting very geeky. We're getting very publishy.
Yeah.
We're not bantering enough.
Okay.
But talking of awards, and you mentioned Bloody Scotland, actually, some of the biggest names in crime fiction have failed to make the cut, as two debut authors have been announced among a 5-person shortlist for the McIlvanney Prize. We're going around the circles here with Scotland, with festivals, with prizes, with William McIlvanney. It was being whistled down from a long list of 13, and the finalists include the 2015 winner of the award, Craig Russell, established names Stuart McBride and Alan Parks, and 2 debut authors, Emma Christie and Robbie Morrison. People who were on the long list but failed to make the shortlist: Val McDermid didn't make the cut, Denise Mina, Chris Brookmeyer. The shortlist has been announced by the Bloody Scotland International Crime Writing Festival, and the festival is scheduled to take place in Stirling between the 17th and the 19th of September, when the winner will be announced. So the shortlist is Robbie Morrison's Edge of the Grave, The Silent Daughter by Emma Christie, The Coffin Maker's Garden by Stuart McBride, Hyde by Craig Russell, and The April Dead by Alan Parks. Have you? Would you put money on one of those?
Yeah, I think Stuart McBride, if I'm honest. But I mean, our personal disappointment is, Hobart. We had one of the long list nominees, as you know, in Waking the Tiger from Mark Whiteman, and he's up for the debut as well. And it's a different judging panel, so there's still a chance, still lively. But with two of the debut authors making it through to the long list, to the short list rather, for the big one, I think come that first day of the festival at sort of 2:30 when they make the announcement, we're preparing ourselves for putting our well done face on. Well done. So,
well,
but it's been
well done.
It's been a huge.
For you've been publishing for a year and a half, something like that, and
Mm-hmm.
Books long listed, short listed, here and there. You've had a couple of biggies recently, and that's to be commended. That says a lot.
Yeah, and it's does have a big impact on sales. Since Waking the Tiger came out, it's been our number one consistent bestseller. It got us into Waterstones with that title, certainly in Scotland, and that has put us on the map. And actually going around Harrogate saying that we've got a McIlvanney listed thing, and I mean, I mentioned that to Rankin, and that gave us some credibility. Also giving him a coffee mug pleased him. He carried it around the festival for the rest of the day, which made a lot of the other authors.
Everyone's looking his way.
It was marvellous. I think Richard Osman, when we get Rebecca sidled up to Richard Osman, and he arrived and got the mug away, but I think that sort of disappeared into the great collection of bric-a-brac that he no doubt gets wherever he goes.
I was going to say, I've seen a few of those on eBay recently.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they're very valuable.
While we're talking about crime, as we tend to, and literary events, I also saw an article in the Eye by the former Home Secretary Alan Johnson, who has a book, again, out today.
That's right.
Which is The Late Train to Gypsy Hill. He'd written a murder mystery a while ago. He was at the Theakston's Old Peculiar Crime Writing Festival in Harrogate. He said he didn't have the book to plug when he went because the publication date was still weeks away. And not that should stop anybody. But he had been chairing one of the events, which was the Politics of Crime, which had George Alagaya, Kate Rose, Doug Johnson and Marnie Riches on the panel. He mentioned that the event he enjoyed the most was seeing Anne Cleeves interviewed by Steph McGovern, and he mentions that she gave her audience a wonderful insight into the mechanics of writing a thriller. It says here, she said she begins each book with no idea of how it will end, and when Steph pressed her, insisting that when someone's murdered she must know who done it, Anne simply said it would be unfair to her detective Jimmy Perez if she did. Oh no, she explained, we have to uncover the truth together. Which I thought was a lovely little comment. I'm not sure I could write like that. I need to know what's going on. I need to know what I've got to hide and how I have to try and wrong foot people.
I think, again, it's this eternal debate between the plotters and the pantsers, isn't it?
I'd love to be able to pants it. I would love to be able to. But
I mean, I pants it, but it means it don't get finished.
Yeah. I know I would go off on a tangent, and I would not be able to keep within that structure and that form. Yeah, I'd love to be able to do it, but I can't do a blank page. It scares the life out of me. And
it's interesting because we've got within the Hobart stable, if you like, we've got a mixture of plotters and pantsers. And when you come to editing the pantsers side of things, sometimes you have to. Our job is to strip out those cul-de-sacs that they've gone down. In terms of, side plots or scenes which lead nowhere and don't really, but were probably great fun to write, and they feel very passionately about keeping them in, but actually they're just getting in the way. So there is an element of that. And with the plotters, of which we have a few, sometimes it is about it's retro-engineering some more red herrings and, dwelling slightly more in the scene and bringing more context into it.
You can be too direct if you know where you're going. You don't want to be getting straight there, do you?
Yeah, and a little bit more. Yeah, let's have some more character development here. Let's set the scene a little bit more richly. I mean, generally speaking, we like it reasonably tight, but sometimes it can be bald, so to speak. A bit, just very, very straight.
Yeah, it's fascinating to see things from that side of the fence, I suppose, and that you must get things sent in, not say all sorts of states, but a first draft from one author might be very different from a first draft from another, and it's that process of getting them all to that finishing point.
Yeah, and we've had some pretty healthy, certainly some vigorous debates with one or two of the authors who've perhaps submitted too early in the process, sort of declared it done, and we've gone, no way. This is there are this level of revisions to make and things that just don't sit right. Even from a technical, just a prose point of view, grammatically, there are shambles.
Yeah,
to be perfectly honest, and it's not really fair.
But that can all be fixed, can't it? That's the thing. It's the telling of the story that is very difficult to train in somebody. There are some well-known writers who the actual writing, the prose, and the spelling, grammar, and all of those things. But that's what the editors are there for, isn't it?
Well, to an extent, yeah. I mean, but
yeah.
I mean, the way I would argue it is, look, every layer of editing is an extra 400, 500, 600, 700 quid's worth of investment from us. So, in fairness to us, it would be great if it came in clean. Now, some people write really clean, and that's partly because of their background. Some have been journalists, some have been teachers, some wouldn't dream of submitting anything that wasn't close to the finished product. But I suppose that the nature of when you sign an author is that you have to adjust to, you're both exploring the relationship and finding out how they each other tick. So they're finding out how we think, Rebecca and I, and what we're looking for. And then there are others, in the same way we're looking at how do we best motivate the authors. And sometimes, we can find ourselves not quite in having, blazing arguments, but it's not far off that. We can really get ourselves into a point where we're dreading the next email from each other because, we're at loggerheads. But generally speaking, it comes right in the end. It just takes a little. It's that thing of that creative concession. Occasionally, we'll give way on something, and then the author will give way on other things, and there's a compromise to be found without ruining the work. I think everyone's trying to make sure that it's the best it can be, and delivering for the audience. Yeah,
everybody's got the same goal, haven't they? It's different ways of getting there. It's diplomacy and the way you guys do things. It's about building a partnership.
Yeah, absolutely.
With the author, rather than having somebody above the other. And
oh no, I mean, we've never enforced within the contracts. Generally speaking, we hold the ace cards if we had to use them, but we'd have failed if we had to enforce those provisions. I mean, that's it's a fallback for everybody knows where the bottom line is. But if we ever got to that stage where well, I'm sorry, but it says here that we have the final say on X, we've failed.
Yeah,
it's simple as that.
Yeah. Well, it's a fascinating way of looking at things. We are going to probably very shortly grab a coffee refill and then do Arsenic and Old Lace, which if you're new to Partners in Crime, and if you are, I don't know why you're stuck with us for 29 minutes so far, is our after-show show, which is exclusive to Patreon subscribers. If you're interested in that, have a look at the link in the show notes. It's not essentially another 15, 20 minutes of more guff, basically. It's a bit like, what was it, the E4, if you watch one of the reality shows or something, and then they have an after-show show talking about
extra
the show.
bits.
Yeah, it's about as fascinating as that. What are your plans for the coming week anyway, Adrian? More reading, more wading through piles of submissions?
Yeah, absolutely. So literally landed on my desk this morning, the new book from Linda Huber, Pact of Silence, and that needs proofing within a week. So I'm combining that with a structural edit on Lewis Hastings' latest novel, The Chemist, which is as Lewis likes to write a whopper, great big novels. So that's a big one, and I've got to crack on with that in the next week. I'm also narrating Malcolm Hollingdrake's Merseyside crime series, but the problem is my Merseyside accents keep sliding, and suddenly I'm Manc and then I'm Welsh, and it's because I've got so many Merseyside voices to create. I mean, I've one I did yesterday, I thought, oh my God, I sound like Lily Savage. Or am I in a Jamie Carragher or Stevie Gerrard? It's
you do kind of have those people in mind to kind of something to anchor that voice anyway, or
Well, I was interested. I was watching a clip from Simon Pegg, and he was saying how to do the Beatles, how to do your 4 Merseyside accents. It's basically if you're Paul, you're speaking like that, and then if you want to go a bit more. Lennon was a bit more on the nose, rattle your jewellery. So. But I can't get Ringo and I can't get George to get me out of a hole. So, it's tricky. And the other thing is that the main protagonist is from Yorkshire. So I'm slipping between. And then in between, you get Manchester. So if you go from Merseyside to Yorkshire, suddenly both characters will sound like they're from Manchester, which is my kind of my home patch for the last decade. So I don't know. We'll get there in the end.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you're very, very busy. We'll grab that quick coffee refill. We'll do Ask Nick and Old Lace. I was going to ask, actually, when you're doing your proofreading, your editing, are you doing that on screen or are you printing all these out? Yeah. Because this is the thing, I'm writing, obviously, on the screen. But when I come to do my own, sort of pre-edits and get the really bad stuff out before it gets sent off so that I don't embarrass myself too much, I have to do that on paper. I think it slows me down, stops me skipping ahead. It's a different format to one I've written in, so I'm not necessarily seeing the words in the same way. I'm more likely to catch errors and things there. But I'm wondering, obviously, having not written them, how you go about that process.
Well, I do it on screen with the PDF, blow it up large, and just annotate the PDF, and that allows me then to share it around. Yeah. So it goes to Rebecca. Generally speaking, she's sort of final arbiter. Before we commit to it. And obviously we've got the advanced readers, as you do. We've got 1 or 2 who are forensic, always find 3 to 5 things that we've all missed, which is invaluable. I mean, I find with the paper thing, I just get... I'm so bad at organising the pile that I'll lose my thread and I'll suddenly be reading something I've already read.
Get yourself a big hole punch and treasury tags. That would be my
advice. I guess so. I mean, with the submissions, we will be making physical copies of those, and we've got various files. And if you get into the green file, we're starting to talk about a contract. If you go to the red file, you've had it. Goodbye. If it's the black file, it's never darken our door again.
You're banned.
Yeah. You sick person, go and get help. Yeah.
Right, well, if you're waiting for Ask Nick and Old Lace, personally, I think you need to go and get help as well. But we're going to do it anyway, so we'll grab a coffee and we'll get on with that. And for the rest of you, we'll see you next week.
Look forward to it.
Partners in Crime was presented by Adam Croft and
not the other one.
And produced by Adam Croft. The theme tune was by the Caesareans. The Partners in Crime logo and imagery were designed by Stuart Beisch. Partners in Crime is sponsored by Kobo, your favourite local bookshop, perfected.